First Financial Bank. Terry Slavens along with Coach Brian Hewlett joining you, and we're going to talk Cisco. What? It's been a long time. Eastland Maverick football. It's been 2 weeks since we sat down with Coach Hewlett. A whole lot's went on, Coach. Let's go back in time to the affectionately called Mud Bowl down at Goldthwaite 2 weeks ago. Snuck out of there with a victory.
Yeah, we did. You know, it's when you deal with those kind of conditions, it was really pretty nasty across the board with rain coming down most of the game. Of course, their field was already plenty wet. I think a funny story is
sprinklers.
It's rained all week, and we knew it rained all week, and probably had a good feeling they probably left the sprinklers on. But if you do that, you need to go ahead and turn them off the day of the game, because we're there trying to warm up, and it's still watering. So it was plenty wet and plenty muddy, but to get away, in which as we felt like all along, Goldthwaite's going to turn out to be a good team. They ended up beating Mart last week, so their record's not indicative of their schedule, and so to get out there with the win against a good team in those conditions is always nice.
And of course, one thing after the loss last week, or to us 2 weeks ago, they were still ranked number 19 in the state by some publications at 0-4, and it's because of the tough record, and they beat a very good Mart team.
Yeah, they did. They have. I think all but one game this year played pretty good. Played McGregor really good, who's a top 8, top 10 team in 2A Division I, and then played the Mason, who was number 1 in the state, and 1A Division I at that time, to 7-10 points. So they played good throughout the year, and then they felt like the other night our game to date was the best they played. So they just kind of building momentum and getting better.
A couple of new wrinkles offensively that I picked up on that night. The direct snap to Sammy Joyner on the first touchdown, and I saw you do it again to Zach Carlton also.
Yeah, it's just always looking for things, always trying to make it tough on the opponent. That's basically, I don't know if you're gonna say it's our philosophy, but just kind of what we do. We feel like we're simple. For sitting in the stands, though, we want you, or watching on videos, opponent, we want you to feel like we're complicated, and so to us it's a whole bunch of window dressing. But the number one thing is we got to make sure we know what we're doing so we can handle our business. So no matter how we line up or where we start or where we finish, just matters that we know what we're doing and we can accomplish what we need to get to.
Goldthwaite, Coach Prophet has announced his retirement at the end of the season, or end of the school year.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think he's kind of been retired. That's one of those, I don't know how that thing got started, and it's just he's pretty much been semi-retired since last year. About our game last year was actually the first game last year that he wasn't full-time. So, he's there. He's still helping. He's going to help through the year, but then next year he's going to step away. And of course, I don't know what's going to happen. But Greg, his son's pretty much running the thing right now, and so. Long career, don't see it much these days, all in one place. I think he started there in 1980, took over 5 or 6 years later, been a part of all 4 state championships there, and just a great career, great person, and has done a super job along the way.
And of course, his son being there on staff probably will get the reins handed to him.
Yeah, you would think, you would hope, but you never know when townspeople get going on those kinds of things. We'll just obviously have to wait and see, and go from there.
Defensively, a huge part of the ball game 2 weeks ago was that stand at the end of the first half. They had a chance to cut it to an 8-point game going into halftime, and they had the football coming out in the second half. And we stopped them on 4th and goal. Yeah,
we played really good defensively for the most part. I think it's one of those situations. It's obviously pouring, or raining pretty thick most of the game, and the field's bad, and we jump ahead. I think it's 20-0 is what we got up, and it's kind of a third to halfway through the second quarter, and just being kids probably, or just by human nature, we sort of let up, and we gave them a long, or they took, I guess if you want to say it, they busted a long run, and just all of a sudden they came alive, and started playing hard, and just kind of felt like I told our kids at half, I heard one of their kids telling the rest of their team on the way in the locker room, we can play with these guys. And they had that thought, well, maybe we can, maybe we can't, and just something good happened to them, and then they got going. So the stand, the fourth down play to keep them out, last play of the first half really was big, because they turned around and started the second half with the ball, and then and as it played out, they drove down and scored. So really would have cut the game close had we not held them out right there.
Coach, with 2 weeks off, did you give the guys some time off during these 2 weeks, or did you keep it going?
Yeah, we try to keep as much rhythm as we can. You got to balance that fine line of rest, recovery, time off, but still staying in rhythm and shape and working, and just kind of got to figure that thing out. We give a little more weekend time off, but as far as the day-to-day goes, we might have went more with not necessarily harder or conditioning, but the physicality of the week was definitely more than it normally would have been.
First time in 4 years that we've had a
long time
mid-season bye week. It's sort of unusual. Of course, with the bye week, did we have any injuries coming out of the Goldthwaite game we need to get healthy?
Really, that's kind of the worst part about it. You cannot predict, obviously, going into a year or next year, a week or a day in front of you even, what's going to happen. But we would have liked to not have our bye week when it was, because we are healthy. We're in kind of a little bit of a rhythm and a roll. I just like to would have liked, and then we've proven in the last 3 years we can go 10 games. Just
sure.
Keep going, So I would have liked to keep going because we were healthy and we're there, but it's what it is, and so we took it and made the most of it.
Coach, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk about some sub-varsity and junior high football. We've had 2 Thursdays of that since we last got together. I won't hold you to all the scores from 2 weeks.
Yeah, don't go back 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. We'll take a 2-minute break. We'll come back with more of the Morning Huddle here on KTX Sports. We're live at First Financial Bank. If you're out and about, stop by. There are a few cookies left. Dale Baker's taking the rest of them home, but he's not listening to us. So
he's worried about other affairs over there.
Yeah, he's hard at talking about something. Coach, we've had some junior high and some varsity games. Let's start with last night, since that's freshest in our memory. We had the JV squad split up last night.
Yeah, JV was split up kind of first week where we've had all junior high and JV pretty much bye weeks are out of us now, and everyone was going. Our JV black traveled to Brownwood to play Brownwood, one of their freshman teams. We got beat 18-7, I believe. One of those things we were in 3 different towns with 5 different games, so I don't know a great deal about it. I think they jumped on us 14-0, and then from as early in the first quarter and the next 3.5 quarters pretty much played them even. And just having to move, we kind of felt we were, not the injury aspect, but just trying to foresee the future of how this year was going to play out. We knew we were going to have some issues with moving some quarterbacks around, and that's kind of how we set up our sub-varsities this year, with the plan to make sure we got everybody 10 games if we could, because last year we kind of fell out of that and only got 6 in with our freshmen last year. So we got a kid, Parker Roberts, played his first game at quarterback, and from what I understand, Coach Martin said he did a really good job. We just have struggled lately with an injury or two, moving the ball and staying consistent with getting points. But and it stinks, and you always want your kids to get wins. But we were just talking about it with those kids last week. Our current seniors now have ran across that growing up, and they have 4 kids in our senior class right now that have played quarterback for us, or have played quarterback for a whole game before. So just getting those games in will develop depth throughout the time, and it's just as the kids stick with it and keep going, it'll pay off in the long run. Then our JV Red played Jim Ned here, played pretty good, won 42-0. Really dominated pretty much of the game. Just pretty much a team effort. I really couldn't call out anything specifically, or I could, but then you just be calling out about 28, 30 of them. So it was good to get all those kids playing and to walk away with a win.
Now your junior high teams took on Jim Ned last night.
Junior high went to Jim Ned and started off with their black team, and they tied 6-6. We got out in the first half score, and they got second half score. And same song, different verse. several of those kids, I can't remember how many of those suited up, probably 22, 24 of them. There's going to be 10 or 12 or 14 of those kids when the time they're juniors and seniors will be starting on the varsity. You know, just give them time to grow and change and develop, and you know, then they will. And so getting out there and getting their first real full game action just as a team, not with the 8th grader, not in a scrimmage setting, was always good to get in. And so got the 6-6 tie. Our 7th Red got beat 16-8, I believe. At one of those odd nights where we felt like we moved the ball well, had several long runs or passes called back, and we have lost connection. I was gone. I didn't touch it.
Oh, I know. It's a service in this bank. I got to get that fixed because that's why we use that. Yeah. Junior high black team. Here we go.
Back to the junior high black team. You know, they tied 6-6 last night at Jim Ned, and just getting out there, and as their first full game playing as a team where they weren't combined with their 8th grader in a scrimmage, so getting that game in was important for them. Our 7th grade Red got beat 16-8. An odd night where we had a tip ball that was pick 6, and we had a safety. So that gives up, you know, a lot of the points right there. We had more yards and moved the ball better than they did. Had several long runs and pass play called back. So, you know, didn't get the win, but played much better than we did the previous week. And we finished the late night off of 3 junior high games with their 8th grade Red winning 40-26. It's kind of a shootout in the first half, a high-scoring game going in at halftime, and then each team ended up only scoring once in the second half. You know, but that crew, as we said it all year, is not at the moment the most talented offensively or skillful, but they play probably per man the hardest of any crew we have, and they're very physical, you know, and a lot of times in football the most physical team wins, and or most times in football, and that's what those guys have been able to do.
And Coach, we're going to go ahead and take another 2-minute break. We come back, we'll talk about some scouting y'all did last week in the district and preview the GymNet Indians. In 2 minutes, you're listening to the Morning Huddle on KTX Sports. We're on KTX, Terry Slaver, the Coach Brian Hewlett with you. And Coach, one of the advantages of the bye week in the first week, your coaching staff got to split up and go take a look at, I assume, all 3 district games that were in action last Friday night.
Yeah, we split up pretty much in thirds, I guess, and you know, everybody went and watched, picked a different game, and went and watched all 6 of our district teams. Just kind of, you know, you get the obvious advantage of watching on video is you get to rewind and over and over and over. But you know, there's a lot of things you like to see in person, and just to get a better feel for actual size and speed, and who wasn't suited up, and who's doing this and that. You know, it's easier to see rotation, our speed of play, how fast they snap the ball, how much time's on the play clock, so forth and so on. So it's good to get to go see those things in person.
First game we want to talk about is, I'm not sure about this, but I'm thinking Dublin's first district win in 5 years or so.
I don't know, but you know, of course they got a big one. That first one was a big one. Combination of Dublin is much improved, as we've been saying all year. Good kids coming. You know, just things are going well for them. And I think, you know, Merkel's down a little, but didn't play real well. I believe they had 11 on their option. They pitched the ball on the ground 11 times the other night.
Wow.
And I think they lost 6 of them. So, you know, you're really not going to win many games with that scenario.
And one thing that we've said about Dublin in the past, you know, we can remember a time when they couldn't even field a junior varsity team, much less now they're fielding 3 at the high school level, and I believe 4 at the 3 are at the junior high level.
Yeah, you know, just getting kids there, and you know what that does, just allows those kids that, you know, as we were talking about earlier with our junior high black team, just allow them to keep playing and develop, and you know, somebody's going to grow, somebody's going to get faster. Someone off that other team's going to move or get hurt, you know, and you have those kids there ready to play.
Comanche gets a win, 33-15 over Breckenridge.
Comanche's playing well, has played well all year. They you know, their lone loss is to Cisco, and I believe that was at one point a 28-14 game in the fourth quarter or something similar to that. Yeah. So, you know, Comanche's playing very well, and probably less indicative of Breckenridge, as far as them not being good, just being Comanches playing at a high level, as well as Breckenridge having to battle through some injuries right now.
Breckenridge, did they get their quarterback back?
No, not right now. They're without a quarterback and a couple of starting offensive linemen. So they got a sophomore playing, and he's doing a real good job filling in for them.
Before we talk about the Clyde Jim Ned game, Cisco picked up a big win over Stanford, 54-14 last week.
Yeah, I don't want to be a told you so, but kind of a really no surprise. Stanford's just they're a good team. There's a difference at the top end of 1A to 2A. There's a big difference. We're a pretty good 2A team, I think, and as is Cisco. There's a big difference when you bump up to playing the top end of 3A. And just really no surprise in that. Cisco's really good, and Stanford will rebound and recover, but they're not on that level.
Clyde defeats Jim Ned, our opponent tonight, 48-30.
Really a much closer game than that. I think, first of all, Jim Ned played well, has been playing better all year, jumped out ahead, a situation that, could happen tonight if the wind kicks up over there in that Clyde, that north-south field with nothing on either side. That strong south wind was blowing, and Jim Ned held them down in there, and Clyde's trying to run the ball out against the wind, and Jim Ned holds them 3-and-out scores. Clyde's trying to run it out the next series and fumbles. Jim Ned runs it to the 5, so before they know it, it's a 13-0 game. So they kind of finished the quarter out, then here comes the second quarter, and the wind, they flip sides, and then it's 14-13 at half. And so they kind of battled the third quarter back the same way, and going in the fourth quarter, it's 20-16 Clyde. And then they kind of start clicking. They just the same as we talked about Breck, they've played without up to 5 kids, and one of them being their quarterback. So then they really kind of hit their stride there in the fourth quarter and got going.
Other district games tonight, Clyde at Breckenridge.
Big game, probably. All of them are big, but it's Breck needs to try to find a way to get in there and catch a win right now.
And Comanche travels to Merkel.
Yeah, same thing there. Merkel's gotta try to get one now. It's so hard once you get behind 0-2, and you feel like you're pressing the whole time. But Comanche's playing really well.
And of course, you take a look at the standings after the first week. We've talked about it all season long that we anticipate this district improved from last year, and I think the results from last week show that, with Dublin and Comanche, two teams who had not been playoff teams the last couple of years. They're on top, and then a couple of teams that have been perennial playoff teams, with Merkel and Breckenridge starting the year 0-1.
Yeah, and then and at one point, I was watching the Jim Ned Clyde game. A couple of our kids were texting me scores or this or that, or asking questions. It's like, and at that time, Dublin was obviously winning and ended up winning. Seemingly going into the week, Comanche's been a better team than Breck. But Breck was winning, and then Jim Ned was up 14-0 or 13-0 there for a time being. And when I was telling those kids, it's anybody. There's 6 teams outside of us, and it's more than any other year. All 6 of them are good or quality opponents on any given week. So you got to be ready each week.
Every week. All right, let's talk about the Jim Ned Indians. What can we expect out of them when we travel over to Tuscola tonight?
A team that, unlike the past couple of years, is playing a lot harder. I don't know necessarily in the past they've played hard, but they're playing hard this year. They're being very aggressive on defense, and they're making things happen. And that's one thing that's really scary. You may have a great play called for what they've lined up in, but they're going to stunt themselves into it, and you may have some -2s, -4s, and hopefully none of the turnovers that go with it, because you take care of the ball, but they might get you in the backfield just because of how they're playing. But on the other side of it, you got to take care of it and handle it, and then if you get them right, or if they guess wrong, you might have that 60-yarder. So you just got to balance that. But as far as defensively, they're playing much better and much harder than they've played in the past couple of years.
What can we expect out of them on the offensive side of the ball?
Pretty much a typical Jim Ned team where you're going to have the 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", tall, lanky receivers on the outside that they can always throw the ball up to and out jump you and make catches. But then what's maybe a little bit different is their best athletes at quarterback. Very good quarterback. He was a sophomore last year, an all-district player last year. And then they have a running back that was first-team all-district running back. So a little more run than they've been in the past. Zone read, option game with those two, and try to let them run around and make plays.
And after 2 weeks, the 2 road games and a bye week, we return home next week to host Breckenridge. What's the Thursday schedule look like for next week?
That's a good question. I think we'll be all with Breck, so we're home. So I mean, junior high's home right now. Junior high's starting at 5. I don't think that's what the district voted to have a start time. It's nice to be able to get it going at 4:30 when you stack up 3 games, but sometimes that runs into the availability of officials. So as of right now, we're at 5 with their black team, followed by our 7 red and our 8 red, and then we're at Breckenridge with our JV black at 5, followed by our JV red after that.
All right, Coach. Good luck tonight. We'll do it again next week here on the Morning Huddle at First Financial Bank.
Thank you.
Thanks to my engineer back in the studio, Matthew Household. Thanks to Coach Hewlett. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, I'm Terry Slavens. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone.